Welcome back to the Star Card of Personal Finance. I am live today. It's Sunday, August the 25th. So I hope you guys are able to join me for this important live. Guys, Bank of America charging again, overcharging fees, doing what they do. I really don't understand how this bank can be ranked number two in assets, with JP Morgan ranking number one, them ranking number two, and the other worst bank, Wells Fargo, ranking number three, as the top three largest financial institutions. And I don't understand it because they're constantly messing up people's accounts or doing some underhanded type of stuff, allegedly. But why is it that these banks always are the ones popping up talking about they either overcharging their customers, doing some type of unfair practice, opening up accounts in people's names, doing something all the time? And I always talk about us knowing, about other financial institutions, especially our credit unions, because, my background, majority of the time that I worked in banking was in credit unions. And so I can say I'm partially favored to them. But the reason why is because they're about community and that type of thing. And the whole time that I worked in credit unions, I never heard such widespread stuff going on to people's accounts, to members' accounts, as it does in some of these larger banks where you're just a number, you're not anybody special. At any time, they can shut your account down, freeze your account, do all these crazy things to your money. And also, not do diligently, from what I've seen, handling fraud cases. It's so much with these larger banks. So when I seen this with Bank of America, charging fees for wires, overcharging, I wasn't surprised because this type of thing happens all the time with those top three banks. Like I said, JP Morgan number one, Bank of America being number two, and you got Wells Fargo at number three of the top largest banks. These are trillion dollar banks. Okay, trillion with a T. Okay, so these are very large financial institutions, and Navy Federal is the largest credit union. Okay, so it's like we got to start looking into other financial ways to handle our money, it seems like. And like I said, I'm always going to preach credit unions because to me, credit unions are some of the best places to keep your money because they're all about community. And I did a whole video that I'm going to link after this live is over with, telling you about all the different benefits of being a member of your local community. It's a local community credit unions, especially if you want to build your credit, if you are trying to buy a home, if you want to buy a car with a great interest rate, you want higher paying on your savings, your CDs, the certificate of deposits, your high yield savings. You really need to be looking into your local credit unions and also the best interest rates on credit cards, because right now, if you're carrying a credit card balance, you're looking at credit card interest rates on some of those larger banks being well over 20% right now. Like the median is like 22%, where even with Navy Fed, the highest rate, if you were to be carrying a balance, we frown upon carrying a balance, but if you are, at least with credit unions, the majority of credit unions, the highest interest rate they have is 18%. I personally have a credit card with the credit union here in South Carolina where I'm at, and it's called South Carolina State Credit Union. And my interest rate on my what is it? It's a platinum visa that I've had since like 2010, I think it was 2011, and it started off as a secured card because I was trying to rebuild my credit. And after doing positive transactions with the card over years, they pulled my credit again years later, and I was upgraded to a platinum card, and my $1,000 deposit went to a $7,500 credit limit with a 9% interest rate. Right now, to this day, it's still like 9.63. I don't carry a balance, but if I did, that's the card I'm gonna do it on. Where can you find a credit card now with a 9.63 interest rate on a credit card? You can't. But that's the beauty of banking with some local credit unions that can do that versus these larger banks that have shareholders that they have to appease to and give them the money versus a credit union that is all about the member. So whatever you put in your savings account when you open with them, that $5, that main savings, that's your stake in the credit union. That was makes you a member. You decide on things when you go to the annual meetings and those type of things. You get to decide some of the changes and some of the things that go on in the actual credit union versus these larger banks that you do not have any say so on what goes on in them. So just wanted to throw that out there before we get to the actual information that I'm going to share with you guys, just in case if you are a Bank of America customer and have done wires between the years of 2019 and 2023. Okay, so quite a few years there. We got like 4 years of somebody or some of many people, especially if you do a lot of wires, receiving wires, you may be getting a significant amount of money back in wire fees. So just want to throw that out there. So go ahead and let's shout out. Let's see who's done left me some comments. Okay. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to today's live. I sure do appreciate it. Was that Milk 35? I do appreciate it. So let's go ahead and let's get into the article that I'm going to pull up. All right, guys. So as you can see in the title of the article, it says Bank of America $21 million settlement. Find out if you're eligible. The settlement is open to Bank of America customers from between 2019 and 2023 who received a wire transfer. So let's get into it. So it says Bank of America customers could be in line for a payout after a settlement was agreed that saw the bank set aside 21 million for affected parties. The settlement affects customers who were with the bank between 2019 and 2023 and were charged certain wire transfer fees, on incoming payments. With the settlement set to close next month in September, we explain everything you need to know about the case, including if you're eligible and how to claim. So Bank of America settlement explained. A class action was brought against the Bank of America after the plaintiff argued that the bank violated account agreements and charged a hidden fee. It is claimed that the bank charged a $15 fee for incoming wire transactions and that it purposefully obscured these transactions without consent. The plaintiff requested that refunds be made where this was the case. The case in question is Aaron Asseltine versus Bank of America, case number 3:23-ZV-00235. For its part, Bank of America denies any wrongdoing, but has agreed to settle and pay those affected by the fees. All right. So it says, who is eligible for the Bank of America settlement? It says, wondering if you're entitled to a slice of the $20 million payout. Thankfully, the terms of eligibility are pretty straightforward. So it says, you were a Bank of America checking or savings account holder between March the 8th of 2019 and March the 31st of 2023. You received an incoming wire. You were charged a $5 fee for the transaction. If you're eligible, you may already receive the communication from the bank about the settlement. So if you're somebody that constantly was getting like incoming wires, like might have even been businesses that constantly get incoming wires, then you can look to be receiving some of the settlement. So it says how to claim in Bank of America settlement. If you want to claim in the Bank of America settlement, then the good news is that you really don't have to do much. Those eligible should be automatically included in the settlement, and after the hearing date, you should receive your payment. So that's the good thing. You do not have to fill out a claim form. Okay, so you do not have to fill out a claim form. They're supposed to know who all the customers were that was affected. If you don't want to be included in the settlement, you can raise your objection, but you'll need to do it by September the 21st of 2024. You can do this by visiting the official settlement website. Similarly, if you feel you should be included in the settlement and want to check if you are, you can also visit the settlement site. At this time, there is no indication of how much each individual person will receive from the settlement. We don't know how many are affected. However, it's worth noting that a third of the settlement amount, 7 million, is going to legal fees. So that would bring it down to like 14 million. If you're wondering when you can expect your payment, the final hearing is set for October the 21st of 2024. Presuming there are no objections, payments will follow sometime after this. Current Bank of America customers will receive it as a bank credit. So if you're still a customer of this bank and you are a part of the settlement, then the money will actually go into your current account that's open. It's an open account, of course, and you will see the money come in whenever, after this hearing and all those things. While those that have left the bank will receive a check. So, especially if you've left the bank and it's saying that you may receive a check, I would think that you would probably need to be the one that goes on this website and actually make sure that the information that they had is still the correct information. So you may want to go on the website just to check out that. But I am going to pull up the website for us to take a look at it. All right. So let's see. I'm going to pull up the actual settlement site next. And all this will be linked in the description box. So this is the actual settlement site. The Aaron Asseltine, I'm assuming that's what it is, versus Bank of America. So this is the actual page right here that you could go to. If you want to exclude yourself from the settlement, you have till September the 21st to do so. It says right here, if you were assessed and were not refunded incoming wire fees challenged in this action, then you receive a settlement class member payment from the settlement fund so long as you do not opt out. So if you opt out, this is this excluding part, you will receive whatever it is that you're entitled to receive, and you do not have to do anything. There is no claim forms that you have to fill out. Now, if you want to object to the settlement, also, if you do not opt out, but instead wish to object to the settlement or any matters described in the notice, you may do so by filing an objection with the court. The objection deadline for the settlement is also September 21st of 2024. So right here, they have some information right here. The mailing, of course, all the different deadlines. It says the final approval hearing, as the article said, is Monday, October the 21st. The final approval hearing is scheduled for that time at 9:15 a.m. So if you are someone that feel like you might be owed some money, then you might want to keep an eye out on that date. So they do have a FAQ right here. That's about 29 questions that they're going to answer. So it said, what is the action about? Why did I receive a notice of the action? So some people may have already received notices, as they were saying in the article as well. Why did the party settle? How do I know if I'm a part of the settlement? So how do you know if you're a part of the settlement? Let's see. If you receive the notice, then Bank of America NA records indicate that you are a settlement class member who is entitled to receive a settlement class member payment. Now, they also say that if you didn't receive a notice and you feel like you might be a part of this, then you may want to contact them, and they do have a contact right here. It says, what options do I have with respect to the settlement? What are the critical deadlines? So we already said September the 21st. That's right over here. Under what circumstances? Now, mind you, you don't have to do anything. So it's going to give you the deadlines, but you don't have to do anything unless you don't want it. If you want to opt out of it, or the objection deadline. But if you don't want to do any of those things, then you do nothing. All right. So what happens if I file an objection? It also says, under what circumstances should I opt out? How much is the settlement? Which I don't think it's going to tell us, but it says that, it's 21 million. But, of course, that's going to be some lawyer attorney fees awarded. Okay, of course. So they saying about 7 million from that article. So that's going to reduce it to 14 million. We already talked about that. So how much of the settlement fund will be used to pay for attorney fees? Like it says right here again, we just talked about that, 7 million. How much of the settlement fund will be used to pay the class representative a service reward? It says class counsel on the behalf of class representative requests a service award of up to 5,000 for the class representative. Let's see how much will be paid. Let's say how much will be payment be? That don't make sense. Subject to court approval, the settlement fund will be divided among all the settlement class members entitled to the settlement class member payments in accordance with formula outlined in the settlement agreement found in the documents section of this website. So you may want to check out the document side of this website as well. And like I said, if you are a part of this, if you're a Bank of America customer, I'm not going to go through all of these, but if you are, then you definitely want to check this out. It said, what if I need to change my address? And that's what I was talking about earlier, that if you were a Bank of America customer, but you're no longer a Bank of America customer now, but if you might have received notice, then you might want to make sure that make sure they have the right documentation for you to mail you your check. If you need to change your address for purposes of receiving a settlement class member payment, you should contact the settlement administrator using the toll-free number 833-522-3647 or by writing to the Ascertain versus Bank of America, care of the Grow Settlement Administration LLC. Here's the P.O. Box and New York, New York. And it's also have that same information down here below. So guys, it's worth checking into, especially if you have had any wires in the last in 4 years. So if you had any wires, it is worth checking into. So I really do appreciate you guys. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the live stream. And if you have any questions, you can always visit me at my website at starcarter.com. You can just scan the QR code here in the top part of this live stream to, I guess that'll be to your left, maybe, or maybe to your right. And you can join the Credit Ready member our community for $5 a month by scanning that QR code. But any other information that you may need from me will be in the description box of this video. I do appreciate your time. You all have a blessed rest of your Sunday.